Wanna build yourself a mad sick freaking race car, yo, right? What are you gonna need first? You obviously need yourself a mad sick race car. What's up? I mean, granted, for it to be a race car, you should kind of have an engine, right? So I'm working on it, man. I'm working on it. But if you want your shit to be a mad sick race car, you're gonna need some mad sick heat vents, bro. Like, you gotta have the heat escapes in your fenders so that the heat can escape from the brakes and cause the more. Today I'm gonna show you guys how, step by step, from beginning to end, how you can make heat escapes with your stock factory fenders on your Honda Civic EF, bro. I mean, this will work on basically any car except for Mustangs, because nothing we do here works on Mustangs, all right?
What? Say? Who banging on the Transformers? These trick ass niggas quick to tuck they tail. But fuck that, you know how we get. Can't get enough of this gangster.
All right, guys, first things first, I'm gonna tell you real quick, if it is kind of loud, background noise, it may be my air conditioner. I would tell you I'm sorry, but I'm not, because it's hot as a motherfucker. Start off, first thing that you have to do, man, you have to have the fender on the car for the beginning of this process. Okay, now I went ahead and I jacked the car up, supported it on a jack stand, just so we could take that wheel off and get it out of our way. That's just one less thing that we could potentially damage. Now I used some just regular old painter's tape here, just to protect the paint on my door. I also used it here to protect the paint in the engine bay when I was aligning the fender and bolting it up. Now that we have the fender mounted on the car, it is time to start prepping the area for where it is that we're gonna be making our cuts. That's gonna be the first step in the process here. Now, if you guys have the wheel liners still in your car, I highly recommend you just take them out and ditch them. In order to leave them in there, you would have to cut this section out. And I've actually seen a friend of mine, bad experience, had a chopped up wheel liner in, and this top section actually kind of started to fall down, and it caught his wheel, and it actually sucked his fender all the way in and just damaged the fender. I highly recommend just taking them out, dude. This is a race car, man, so get rid of that shit. You are gonna need just a standard grinder, just any old grinder. What I have here is a polycarbide abrasive wheel. I'm going to show you what we're going to use this for here in a second. Obviously, our cutting disc, this is what we're going to use to cut our fender and cut the material. And this is an 80 grit floppy disk, soft disk, whatever you want to call it. I just basically use this for cleaning up our rough edges and everything before welding. The first thing we're going to be using is this polycarbide abrasive wheel. And the reason why is because this thing is really good at removing paint, but it's not so aggressive that it really tears up the metal. We need to remove all the paint right here where we're going to be cutting, because later we're going to be welding in these areas, and it's going to be a lot easier to take that abrasive wheel and remove the paint right now before cutting. But before I take a grinder anywhere near my car, I have a bunch of old blankets stacked up over here in my passenger seat. I'm going to kind of cover the car as much as I can just to protect it from any kind of dust or sparks or anything that we're going to be kicking up, because you want to protect your paint, dude. You're making a mess right now, so let's try to protect the paint the best we can. Alright, so a little overkill, but I believe better safe than sorry, brother. Let's strip some paint. Do me a favor, brother. Pay attention here, okay? Please, don't fuck your fender up. I don't want y'all to have to go out and buy a new fender. Let's measure twice, and let's cut once. Yeah. As for the position of our cuts here, our starting cut is this body line. That's what we have to go off of. So we're gonna be making our first cut right here, right along that body line. Now from that body line down to this point is exactly 8 inches. What I did to get that is I kind of tucked the tape measure into the back right here so that I can mark a dot right there at 8 inches. Otherwise, if you try to take the tape measure and wrap around the body, you know, the shape of the fender, it kind of throws it off a little bit. So you want to get the tape measure kind of back there in the back so that you can mark it correctly. So you want to measure from here to here 8 inches, here to here 9 inches, and then mark a line connecting the two. And that's how I got that little bit of an angle. That's our second cut. Now our third cut, what I did here is just measured over 1/2 inch. I marked a dot, 1/2 inch, marked a dot, 1/2 inch, you know what I mean, and so on. And then I just kind of steadily connected the dots. Now I have a straight line right here, straight-ish. Now where we're going to be cutting is we're going to cut straight across and we're going to stop at this 1/2 inch line. You don't want to cut all the way to here. We're going to cut this 1/2 inch line straight down, and then we're going to cut from here over to there. Again, with this line here, you also don't want to pass this 1/2 inch.
I feel like dancing. I feel like dancing. I smell something in the air that's making me.
Alright, so now that we got this piece cut out, the first thing that we're going to want to do is take our floppy disk on the grinder. We got to go through and just kind of clean up all these rough edges on the fender and on our cutout piece before we can move on to the next step. So now to explain myself here, because I'm sure a lot of you guys are probably thinking the same thing that I was thinking when I first started to do this project, was just to cut the fender all the way through and then we could just bend this section in instead of cutting it off. That does not work on the EF chassis. I'll link a video up above if you want to go check that out if you don't believe me. You can see the reason why that didn't work out for me on the other fender. Basically, what we're gonna have to do now is go ahead and weld this piece back in. There's a flat area here and here where we cut it that we'll be able to just line back up. But whenever we line this flat surface up, these ends right here stick out. So this is what we're gonna have to trim off. I placed a piece of vinyl here just so I can draw it out to kind of explain a little bit better what I'm talking about. Where we cut the fender now, this is the fender side, this is the piece that we cut off. But now whenever we take this piece, that straight edge is this straight edge here. But whenever we take this piece and we turn it this way, it's no longer straight. It takes on more of a shape like this. So what we need to do is trim this off and this off on the top. What we're basically going to be trimming is going to be something like that. So, but obviously not that big. I'm just making it that big so you guys can kind of get an understanding. So if we want this to line up with our straight line on the fender, but with it turned, we got to make this a straight line when looking at it this way. In order to do that, we're going to have to trim like little triangle shaped pieces off of the top and the bottom. Now I cannot give you a measurement on that. What I had to do with the last one is just trim a little bit, check it, trim a little bit, check it, and just go back and forth. You don't want to trim a lot. You just want to take a little bit, little pieces at a time, and take it back and test it until you get it to fit nice and flush. So now, as you can see, our seam is nice and tight, top to bottom. Nothing's overlapping. Right here, whenever I tack weld it, I'm gonna need to kind of push in just a hair, because the way I have it taped, it's kind of making it bulge out right there a little bit. But other than that, the seam is nice and straight, dude. So now, let the fun part begin. Alright, so now we got this piece all tacked up. I was able to remove the tape because it's not going anywhere. It's being held there all on its own. And if you look, if I move it, it's really on there. This is just tack welded on here. This is not the final welds. Anything on the front side of this is going to be grinded down, and then we'll do our body work, but that's going to be a whole nother video. What we have to do now, our next step, is we have got to cut little wedge pieces that fit inside of here, and then we got to tack those in as well. One for the bottom and then one for the top up here. If you want to, you can make templates. You know, put some cardboard in here, or a cereal box was mentioned to me from a subscriber, which would work really well, the cardboard from a cereal box, just to make your little templates and stuff that you can then transfer to the metal and then cut it. However it is you guys want to do it. Now I'm just gonna hold my piece of metal up here and just kind of mark it and then go back and cut it and back and forth, and that's basically how I did the other side. That's how I'm gonna do this side as well. Now as far as the material that I'm using, this is just a piece of 1/16 inch steel, which is also 063. You can buy this at Home Depot. I mean, there's a lot of places you can find it. Now another thing that you can do if you're anything like me, I have like old hoods in my backyard. I think I have some old Fenders or whatever. If you have some old body parts like that, especially Fenders, dude, it'd be perfect. You can cut up some material from an old body part, dude, and make your little wedges out of that. If you don't want to go hunting down where to find a piece of steel, you know, you want to save yourself some money and you got junk car parts sitting out back, you know what I mean? But I'm gonna go ahead and get these wedges all cut up, and then we'll get those tack welded in and move on to the next step, brother. Got our wedge pieces all cut out and they are tack welded in. It's better to do the cut, position your heat escape, tack weld everything up with it on the car so that you know you're not going to have any kind of fitment issues. It's not going to be crooked as all hell whenever you go to put it back on the car. You know everything is where it needs to be, you know what I'm saying? So now we can pull the fender off the car and do all of our final welding. Alright, now we got the fender off the car so we can have a better look at what it is we got going on here. So we made our cut, we folded in our heat escape, we cut our wedges, we have everything all tack welded together because this is really thin sheet metal. You don't want to blow a bunch of holes in it. It's just going to make it harder later on when we're doing body work. And all you really need to do is just tack weld it. So what I'll do is stitch weld, is I'll do a little tack here, here, and I'll go back and forth on each one of these until everything's all welded up and strong, dude. So once we get that finished, then we can flip it over, and everything that we did on the front, we can grind down, make it look all beautiful and ready for body work.
Looking to the moon, I really get to clicking, but I'm looking for a sister to the bottom when I kiss her. If you want some, never mind, just let me know.
our finished product now with all the welds on the front side all ground down. Now this little hole that was right here, that was for the side molding clip to pop in. What I did was I actually took just a little piece of metal on the back side and I just spot welded that onto the back, and then I filled the front with as much weld as I could and I grinded that down smooth. So that's pretty much our finished product, dude. I mean, granted, we still got to do our body work. It looks a little bit rough now. That's nothing, a little bit of Bondo and some high build primer can't fix, but I'm not gonna get into that with this video because this video's done, brother. I hope that you guys enjoyed today's video, this little DIY of the heat escape for your fenders. If you did, please do give it a big fat thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, man, this is my build. It's a 91 Honda Civic Si that we have completely torn down to the bare shell and are rebuilding it from the shell up, dude. We've done a full color change, and I have a lot of DIYs on the channel of how to build this wing. We've done the Lexan windows. We painted the entire car, underbody coating. I've made all of the door panels in here, aluminum floor mats that have that skateboard grip tape on there. Boy, ain't nothing to fuck with. I mean, even the side molding on this car, we made this ourselves. This is aluminum. You know, it's just a lot of little stuff. You know, whatever I come up with and I'm doing to my car, I basically try to do what it is I can to show you guys how to do it as well, dude. Because I mean, I believe that anybody can achieve their goal of having a nice car, of having what it is that they want. Even, you know, just by doing it yourself, man. Do it yourself. You save so much money. You get to learn a lot of cool shit along the way. You know, you don't have to have a lot of money to have a nice car. You know, it's just one step at a time. Do a little bit of something, you know, on your schedule. Even if it's one thing a week or one thing a month, at least you're moving towards your goal. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. To all my longtime DB fam, you guys already know what it is, man. Thank you guys for your support. Peace out, and I'll see you on the next one.